everybody. Welcome back with another woman that you should absolutely know. I'm really excited to hear more of her story and introduce her. I'm here with Blaine Amidei from Fortem Loans. I don't know why that's a tongue twister for me, but it is. And also the Affiliate of the Year awarded from CDAR. So super excited to hear about all of it. So first, tell us about what you do.
So I am Blaine Amidei with Fortem Loans. I am a mortgage broker in the desert. I am a division of Fortem Financial, a financial advising company that's been well established in the desert for over 25 years.
Wow.
The team's been together for 25 years, and Fortem has been in place since 2016.
Wow.
And I run the loan division, the home loan division. So I help home buyers achieve their dreams and purchase their homes.
That's super exciting. And you've been doing that only since 2020.
Correct.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that journey, because before you did something completely different.
Yes, completely different. So in corporate event planning for 10 years. And when I was younger, that was what I was going to be, was an event planner.
Okay, so you wanted to, that was like something that you,
yes.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
That was always like, I was a part of ASB. I planned all of our dances, it just was like an easy fit. And I always kind of felt bad when, I know it's really hard. I have family members who just don't know exactly what they want to do. And so that was what I wanted to do. I went to college and got my recreation and tourism management degree from San Diego State, and got lucky enough, friend of a family introduced me to a corporate event planning company, and I was there for 10 years. So
wow,
loved it. It was amazing.
It's got to be a lot of fun. You're
so much
throwing
fun.
parties all the time.
A lot of stress.
Sure. A lot of stress.
But I mean, you have to have like a love for it. So, but what was one of the first things to almost decimate after COVID was corporate event planning. I remember being on site with a client in San Diego. We were touring. We were going to have a big event that upcoming year, and panic ensued, And so they've already had gone through this with other like market crashes or anything like that, because that's the first thing that's cut is, any event. And I think what people don't understand is a lot of it prepaid for the event and stuff. So it was a really weird time. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to worry. It's not going to be anything crazy.
I remember feeling that exact same way when they announced COVID. We'll be fine in a couple of months. So I can,
I'm like, okay. I had a nice pipeline of business built up, and within 3 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, it was completely gone. Everyone had canceled. They had to. The hotels canceled. And our company actually that I worked for went bankrupt.
Wow.
Luckily to say that everything is back in motion and they're thriving and they're doing amazing. But, I wish I could have been somebody that enjoyed that unemployment time of 2020, and, but I couldn't. I just was like in a panic, but I did know I lived in San Diego. I wanted to move back to the desert. This is where I grew up. So it was home, and I had that already in my mind. I was ready for that next chapter. And so when I came back, it was time, okay, I got to find a job. No one in hospitality was hiring.
Yeah. No.
So luckily, a friend of a friend, which I feel like happens often in the desert, knew somebody was hiring in lending. So I went and interviewed and got the position. And that's how I kind of started in this industry.
So you applied for the job because you needed one, not because you were like, oh my God, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, no, I thought, you know what, in the meantime, I'll learn something new. Like, why wouldn't I?
Right.
And then when I did, at first it was super overwhelming. I didn't understand. But the nice thing was I've had family in finance for years. So at least I could go home and, call my dad and ask him, hey, what does this mean? Stuff like that. And he was kind of able to break everything down. And I had been surrounded by watching markets and all that, but didn't truly understand it.
Yeah.
So it was just, I thought, well, I'll just learn while I can until we're recovered and go from there.
Go back to event planning. Yeah. So, but you didn't.
I did not. No.
Because you found that you loved it.
I did. Yeah. So I found that one of the keys to being a good, loan officer is organization. And I think also making sure the client experience is top notch. So a lot of the stuff from hospitality was able to easily translate into a field I didn't even realize that it could.
Right. Right. Well, because I went full time in August of 20 in real estate. And I'm sure you remember that time.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy. I'm sure you were doing a bunch of loans. We were all selling a bunch of houses. Everyone was doing it. It was booming, as they say.
Yep.
And then things changed again.
Yep.
Right. And I know as a real estate agent, there are certain things that you had to adjust to keep yourself in the business. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that was true for you too.
Oh yeah.
And I know that you focus specifically on the service and experience. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that and how that's kept you here in the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, I think that mortgages can be very transactional. Mm-hmm. And so the reason we started Fortem Loans was because the financial advising company has clients that need loans all the time. Mm-hmm. So it was a really easy, hey, why wouldn't we capture taking care of our clients beyond just the financial advising. So it was an easy decision. But as the markets changed, it was we were getting our licensing in place. So that process, if the state, can be a little bit longer than anticipated. So as I was having, it's like, somebody's always going to need a loan, mm-hmm. and they're always going to need, money to purchase homes and stuff like that. So we know that in longevity, that's not going to go away. Mm-hmm. With event planning, I loved it so much. I still do. I find myself always attracted to planning an event, but, as soon as something goes bad in the market, I mean, that's it. Mm-hmm. It's, that's going to be the first thing that can be cut. So, it just felt more stable, mm-hmm. actually, than being in hospitality, where you've seen those high years, but then the low lows. And so I didn't want to go through that, and, the hours were a little crazy.
Yeah, sure. You're right? At the mercy of other people's schedules, really.
So, this just brought a little bit more stability, mm-hmm. even though the market hasn't been, in the ideal spot that we want it to. It's going to come back, as long as our reports on inflation come back good. That's what we're just really eyeing. So it's interesting to understand how all of that works. It's hard to know all of it, of course, right. But yeah, I mean, I just think you just take it day by day, month by month, and there's other roles that I also have at this company to keep myself
busy
and going, totally. So,
and I mentioned earlier, you won a really big award at the Desert Association of Realtors this past year, Affiliate of the Year. You followed somebody else I admire, Catherine Robinson. So
love her.
Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
That was amazing. I was so shocked. I literally had no idea, even though right before somebody had been like, do you know who it is? I'm like, no, I literally have no idea. And then for Catherine, who I've been friends with Catherine for years before I even got into the industry, because mm-hmm. she's really good friends with one of my best friends. And she's also somebody I was able to turn to and rely on throughout mm-hmm. the industry. So to come after her was just such an honor. I think finding a California Desert Association of Realtors has been finding kind of your home, a place that you want to be with, people you want to be with. And I got into that because of Andy Mallon, who actually won Realtor of the Year this year, which is exciting. So she was my vice principal growing up.
Oh,
yeah. And
my gosh,
my high school counselor. Yes, the circle, the small desert. So I had reached out to her when I found, we got our licensing, we were established, and I was like, okay, what do I do? I think you're a part of California Desert mm-hmm. Association of Realtors. And she's like, yeah, just get involved. So of course I jumped in with 2 feet, and just really enjoyed my time there and just getting to know everybody. I think it's really important to build genuine relationships with people, mm-hmm. And making sure that it's the right fit on both sides for you to do business, So agreed. I just kind of went full in, and luckily there's a lot of events to help with. So that worked out perfect.
So for those that don't know, explain what an affiliate is.
Okay. So an affiliate is really, anyone that's kind of around the realtors to support that transaction. So whether it's you're the mortgage broker or you're in title or escrow, those are just examples of affiliates. Yes, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, people that are supporting the business in some capacity.
Correct.
Yeah, awesome. And there's a lot of them around.
Yeah.
You won the award.
I know. Congratulations. Thank you. I was so honored. Honestly, I was in shock, and I just, I think you volunteer for things, and mm-hmm. you do your best, and so just to be recognized for that was really exciting.
Yeah. Well, but work and mortgage and event planning is not mm-hmm. all that you do. You're also really involved in other things that are super important to you.
Yes.
The Children's Discovery Museum being mm-hmm. one of them. What's your role there?
So I am on the board at the Children's Discovery Museum. I have been on a little bit under a year. and I actually grew up across the street from it. Yeah. So Catherine is on the board and asked me to join, and I was so honored. And I just had such a connection to that place growing up across the street, going as a child, you know, and taking my nephews. And so it just seemed like such a great fit, and they do such wonderful things. I'm so glad.
It back.
Oh my gosh, I was so happy.
Such a big deal.
Before I was even on the board, when I heard that it closed, I was like really sad.
Devastating,
yeah.
Because it is great for kids and their families, and there's just such a wealth of experience there.
Totally.
That it just spans the gamut. Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And I think I might have been like one of the first, you know, like field trips growing up that went. And so it just was such a full circle moment. And it was such a special place to me growing up that I wanted to do whatever I could to help.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
You are also a cheerleading coach for the Mavericks.
Yes.
So you were a cheerleader also yourself.
Yeah.
In high school or just college?
In high school. Middle school I started actually. Okay. So I went to Palm Desert Middle School, did cheerleading there. Palm Desert High School, did cheerleading there, and then also was a Maverick. So Mavericks is the competitive all-star team in the desert. And that I popped in just to say hi to my old coach and the owner, Amy Gray, and just say, you know, hey, can I come work out once a week? And she's like, do you want to coach? And I was like, all right, you know, might as well.
How long have you been coaching?
This is my 4th season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously coaching young people is not just about the sport.
No.
There's a lot of things that go into that, a lot of life skills, a lot of, and you're dealing with young girls. Like, what's the age range?
Right now, my team is 8 to 13.
Yeah. So that's a very formative group of years where having an additional adult female in their lives that they can look up to and respect for various reasons is so important.
Yeah.
So what are some of the conversations or what are some of the things that happen during your coaching that maybe don't really have anything to do with cheerleading?
You know, I think a lot of the times is I feel like I've coached a lot of different, you know, types of athletes. And so I think for us, it's being really receptive to understand, like, if their energy is a little bit different that day and just kind of pulling them aside and say, hey, what's going on? Because if you're telling them the same correction over and over again and they're not getting it, like maybe something else is going on that you're not sure of. So I think as coaches, it's important for us to kind of be aware if something seems a little bit different, whether they just had a bad day. And that's what I tell them all the time. If you had a bad day, that's okay. Yeah. Give us a heads up. We don't want to make your day like any worse.
Right.
And so I think I want them to have fun. You know, I think that's like my ultimate goal.
It should be fun.
Like, you know, we're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days, but like, it should be fun. And we just had our first competition and my team, you know, it was a little bit like we were a little nervous going in, you know, we had to make some changes and, but after they perform, you know, I get choked up every single time. Like, I can't help it. Like, so I'm like crying and the old girls know, the new girls are looking at me like, what? And I'm like, I can't help it. It just like hits something in me, you know, it kind of takes you back. And so I think for me, especially like now being, you know, an adult, and I still refer back to those people who were in my life. Like, I went to the gym to see, you know, my old coach and Andy Mallon. And so there are those role models that you have that no matter how much time passes, I want it to be that they would feel comfortable to pick up the phone and call me. And so, and it's really nice to see the girls who advance to that next step. And just even, you know, when you see them at the gym practicing, just see how far they've come. It's like, it just is great. I had that growing up, and so I feel really thankful for that time that I had, and glad I can do that for anybody.
Yeah, now you step into that role for so many girls that come through your program.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so you'll be getting those calls in like 10, 15 years. Yeah,
I did coach high school. I coached Xavier for 3 years, and so just to see where those girls are in college and hear from them, you know, it's just it's really fun. So I'm excited.
It's great to have that connection, and really like maintain it.
Yeah,
it's very important because again, the connections that you form when you're in that age group, if you can carry that on into adulthood,
for sure,
the impact it has in your life is like so profound. I think.
Totally,
it's like just an amazing thing. And giving your time, you know what I mean? Like, so oftentimes I think that people are nervous to give their time to something because they don't know if they can. So you're balancing all of these things, right? You're balancing your full-time job and you're coaching and you're on the board. And sometimes you need to recharge.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, we were just talking about this. I think, you know, I've been in a place where, you know, working, and sometimes you can let it eat you, you know, and it can kind of swallow you up. And so I think, you know, if I could look back and give myself any advice, it would just be like, take the time you need, slow down when you need to.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to, you don't have to get the gold star every single time, right? Like you got to make sure you're taking care of yourself first, and that you are aware. So I think that's what it is. I think I'm trying to be more aware of my scheduling, and make time also for things that are important to me, like friends and family and my personal life. And so I think finding that balance is always tricky, but you gotta force yourself to.
It's so true. And I think though, right now, and especially in high school, the kids can have their schedules so overloaded with like the 10 clubs they belong to and the AP classes they're taking, and still trying to do it well. I wonder if we kind of learn that at a young age, right?
I would say so. I think, looking back, and especially after coaching high school, I'm just thinking like, you don't have to do that. Like, it's okay. Like, don't let it become the norm of being burnt out. Don't let that be what's a normal thing. You don't feel like you're giving 100% unless, you're dying. You know what I mean? Like your army crawling through it and you're barely, so I think, I don't know why that precedent seemed to be, set. And I know it wasn't like pressure on my parents or anything. I think it was my own, I wanted to make sure if I gave somebody my word, I was going to do it. I was going to follow through. But I think it's at a young age, you need to be aware of that. Taking care of yourself, not pushing yourself, not saying that there's not going to be hard times. I think that's the balance of it too.
Sure.
You kind of have to go through the hard times.
Because it's not going to always be perfect. And not even perfect. It's not always going to be easy and fun. And, and, you are going to struggle and have the moments where it just doesn't, you don't want to continue doing X, Y, Z. And those are the moments when you need to just take a step back, take a couple deep breaths, take a weekend or whatever it is, so that you can move forward and continue things that are important. Because if
you're always exhausted or you're always, feeling that burnout, you're just not going to be able to make it to that next step. And it just like you said, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Take a moment for yourself, and then. But also just being really organized. That's also super helpful,
Not all of us are really great about that, okay?
No, it's okay. It's okay. But I have, like the colored calendar and all that. So I think that helps. Otherwise, if I didn't have my calendar, I don't know what I would do. So
yeah, I hear you. So, best piece of advice or little nugget of knowledge that somebody's given to you over the years?
I would say the best piece of advice I got was from our old CEO at the company I worked for previously, and it was, and I've seen this come true a lot, is make friends, whether in the industry that you're in, with the people who are your age, who are kind of at that same place that you're at, because you're going to grow up together.
Interesting.
And I notice that so much, just even in other situations when you walk in, it's like the person who's at the front desk, that could be a top producer one day.
Right.
So it's like, you never know. And, in general, I think treat everybody kind and respectful. But really, I think that it makes it easier to make those genuine connections. And then just you're growing up together in the industry, and you can be vulnerable and you can be honest. And I think that that's a genuine friendship.
Yeah, it's so you definitely want to always have the person that's in front of, like the one that's already where you want to be. You have to be able to look up.
For sure.
But I found it's so true in this business, in real estate, I'm sure, and lending, that you really need to be able to lean on and bounce things off. And I've got like a core group, there's 4 of us, and we have our little text message stream. This just happened. Have you experienced it?
Totally.
Like, oh, I just did this and this is how it worked. And it's invaluable to have that, because it can be a very competitive situation in what we do, but it shouldn't be. It doesn't need to be. And sharing those experiences with a core group helps you to like get through and hopefully like learn what to do before you need to know what to do. And it just makes you better at what you're doing.
I think, I completely agree. I still, even within the lending community, like even within CDAR, I picked up the phone and called other loan officers just to be like, hey, have you ran into this? Like, how would you handle this? So I think that's been a wonderful experience too, just to have that camaraderie. But you have to have that. Like, why wouldn't you try to find out the mistakes that other people have made so you don't have to make them yourself? But I think that's been, it's okay if you're not, the 20-year veteran yet in your career. That's okay, but you can be with those people who are in that same position and grow and learn together. And I think that was the best piece of advice I ever got.
Love that. And so true. You carry that with you forever, for sure.
Yeah. I remember him telling me that, and I just was like, Okay.
That sticks with you.
Yeah, it did. And it was really nice, you know, especially in my past career. Really, we were moving all up at the same time. So it was when you knew that that person had your back and they were going to take care of you, and it was vice versa. Because it is a real friendship that develops, not just, hey, let's do business together.
Right. Well, and having that mindset going into it, and now it's like, it helps you to create connections faster rather than like testing it out and not really knowing who has your back or who's going to help you through it. Like searching for those connections is the better way to be than hoping that it comes to you.
Totally. And I just say, like, get involved. I think that was a huge thing. And if it does become to a point where, you know, you don't feel like you can give as much, it's okay to say that, you know, but you got to try it at least. And then know that, you know, it's for a certain amount of time, or, you know, it's not the forever, but you got to push yourself out there in order to meet people and grow.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say that maybe we didn't talk about?
No, I feel like we covered a lot.
This was so great.
Oh my gosh, thank you.